What's up, guys? We're back. We have a little special segment we're doing. So with the Senior Bowl coming up this week, everyone knows Miami Dolphins were chose to coach one of the teams, as well as the Panthers, right?
Yep.
Panthers. A lot of interesting prospects on the Dolphins side. We have not even really talked about. We have two Alabama boys that we all like on our team. Obviously, Devonta Smith won't be participating because he does have the injured thumb. But there's a lot of guys we really like. I'm going to start this video out by asking everyone to please subscribe, leave a like, drop some comments, give me some feedback, share it with any friends or family that might be Dolphins fans, and we'll get this thing rolling. So, as far as the Miami Dolphins Senior Bowl, we have a bunch of interesting prospects. Me and Randy are not professionals at this. We are both going to name some guys we like. We watched film, and we'll go from there. So, Randy, I'm going to pass the ball to you if you want to start out. If
Yeah.
you give me a name.
So let me get my list up on my other screen here. I have my list up now. And I also want to preface this by saying that I am for sure not a film aficionado. I've never watched tape professionally for a living. What I did before this video was I took some names of some guys that are interesting to me and I put their film on and I watched some film and I will admit some highlights. The reason I watched highlights is I did want to see what some of these people looked like at their peak. And I also wanted to, it's kind of hard to dig up film on a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially with college football and the rules around that. So I'm going to start it off. I guess these are a little bit ordered by position. And the first guy I want to talk about is offensive tackle Spencer Brown. I think he's out of northern Iowa. It's something up there. Um, and the first thing I wrote for this guy was eye candy. So for me, so I wrote down like a full description of what I saw, but Spencer Brown is a right tackle, which is something that I envisioned this being a person that we could get if we wanted to kick Hunt into guard, where I believe
Mhm.
he's probably better suited. I don't think that he has he doesn't have the width to play guard. He's definitely a tackle, but what I liked about Spencer Brown was he's a bulldozer and a finisher. He's really good in the run game. From what I watched, he was always like I said, I'm not an expert, but I know what it looks like when someone's giving full effort an entire play. And he would take his guys in the run game. He'd drag his guys on the ground and put them there and sit on them. I kind of like when I see that. That means he's not doing anything if he's on the ground. Um, so he's good at that. I liked his athleticism, and I'm going to give you a player comparison to someone that's already on the roster and something that I think could be a pitfall for him. Two things I see being a pitfall. The big one for me is the competition. Who has he been playing while he's at Northern Iowa? He looked like a monster, but is that because he's beating up on little guys? Maybe. So I have
Mhm.
that. My player comparison is Austin Jackson. He's very athletic, but he doesn't seem to be technically sound in the passing game as much as he could be. I think he's just getting by on beating up on lower competition. So he's kind of like Austin Jackson, where Austin Jackson could start because he's naturally very fast and athletic. Something I really liked is he's athletic enough to pull, and that's something that no one on this Dolphins offensive line can do because they're too fat. He's not too fat to pull, so he
Yeah.
can pull. I'm just worried that he might be a little bit technically raw, and I don't know if he's a starter right away. I also don't think he's a day one or day two
Mhm.
pick.
So I
Maybe day two.
actually,
Go ahead.
I actually did a little research on him. I didn't do too much in the O line. I like the interior O line of this draft a lot more than I like the tackles. But he is a big boy. He's 6'8", which is
Okay,
tall.
he looked slender. That's why I was thinking he wasn't
He's 6'8",
big.
320, so he's not too wide
Good.
for an offensive tackle
We have
that's
enough
six
of
eight.
that.
But what I noticed, I do agree with you. He is a very dominant run blocker. He seems to always finish through his blocks. I'm not sure as far as a pass protection tackle. And the one thing you also mentioned that I've read about is that it's going to be similar to Austin Jackson, where it is going to be a developmental project. Um, you know, you're not sure exactly. The floor is lower than a lot of other guys that you could draft at that position,
Yeah.
but it's like that theory where the ceiling could be just as high, if not higher, than a lot of other guys.
I Before we move on to the next guy, because I'm gonna go to an offensive tackle after this too. I'm a sucker for guys that it seems like they're finding work. It seems like once they get for him, I loved on his film. Once he was done with the first guy, if he needed to climb to the second level and get somebody, he would. I saw him
Yes.
stretch out both hands and get more than one person in one block with reach blocks. Like I
He
said,
has
I'm
long arms. He does have
long
long
arms, a
arms.
big frame. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this, but I like a guy who looks for work because you teach a guy like that how to use his leverage and his size to his advantage and stuff, and he
Mhm.
could become a good player down the road. So that's someone I liked.
Okay.
The next guy, did you look at Dylan Radins at all? OT out of North Dakota State.
I did not. So he was Brown was the only offensive tackle I looked at.
Okay.
Um, I have two interior offensive linemen I like. So
Okay,
I'll
I
let
didn't do
you.
any of those, so I'm gonna give those to you in a second.
Okay.
I'll just go Dylan Radins real quick. He plays for North Dakota State, I believe, same as Trey Lance. He's a left tackle. He's very similar to me to Spencer Brown. Really dominant run blocker, finishes. Um, and he reminds me a lot of Robert Hunt, though, not of Austin
Okay.
Jackson. So he's a lot more of the Robert Hunt kind of player. I'm a little bit afraid of his competition level. So my closing statements on Spencer Brown and Dylan Radins is I want to see what both of them look like against this Senior Bowl competition this week. I think this week is huge because I want to see what they look like against SEC players in one-on-one reps. I want to see what they look like in the game because they'll be playing bookend tackles for us during the Senior Bowl game. So I'd like to see what they look like against better competition. All right, I'm gonna kick it to you for interior O line.
All right. So real quick, actually, I would just because it's a it's not a huge deal this year. But I want to briefly just talk about the quarterbacks. So we have Sam Ellinger out of Texas. We have Ian Book out of Notre Dame, and we have
Felipe Franks.
Felipe Franks,
I
the
think
old
he,
Gator. I don't
yeah,
even know.
former Florida Gator. So I've watched enough of Felipe Franks to know that I don't want him anywhere near our team.
Okay.
But I have not watched enough of Ian Book. I've only seen him in the playoffs and the times that he played Clemson. But you are a Notre Dame fan, so you know Ian Book.
So I do like Ian Book. I think he's the best quarterback probably since Brady Quinn to come out of Notre Dame, if not better. I know he did set a lot of records at Notre Dame. Um, Ian Book a lot of times was held back by coaching, I believe, truly. Um, he did have a great O line. Notre Dame always has a great O line, so that is something that he is used to. Um, but what I like about him is he can make the throws, and he's also very mobile. He's not a tall guy, but he's very mobile. And when you need someone to get those rushing yards, he can definitely do that.
Yeah,
So
I feel like I've seen him scramble for
yeah,
a quick 10 yards if he
yeah,
needs
he's
to.
a mobile quarterback. He's not a runner, but he is mobile.
Good for you
Um,
for going to the quarterbacks. I didn't even take a single peek
yeah,
at
I
that.
just wanted to go over that. I would like Ian Book as a late round pick, definitely to back up Tua. Um, I don't think Fitzpatrick will be back next year, so we got to look to get that backup quarterback. So,
Right. Okay.
um,
Who'd you have on
so
the
interior
interior?
O line. Have you heard? I'm sure you have, but Creed Humphrey.
I love Creed Humphrey. The reason I didn't look at his film is because I've seen enough of it.
Yeah.
I love his body type. I feel like he fits in our mold of big fat hog molly.
Hmm.
I like him. I like
Exactly.
everything about him. I think he's a good communicator. I think he plays well. He finishes well.
Yeah. He's
He's a
also a
leader.
left-handed center.
Love that. That's cool.
Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Wrestling background. He's someone I wouldn't take in the first round. I would definitely pull the trigger on him in the second round if he's there at our second pick in the second round.
Yeah.
Um, 6'5", 325. I mean, just an absolute monster.
I would
So
say that center is also a position of need almost.
yeah.
I know that Ted Karras was on a 1 year deal. He's not under contract. We currently don't have a center, so it's a position of need.
Oh, I thought he was on a 2-year deal. Really?
He's on a 1 year, $4 million deal, so he is no
Wow.
longer, unless we extend him. That
That's
was it
right.
for Ted Karras.
Yeah.
And Ted Karras was okay anyways. I think Creed Humphrey would be an upgrade either way.
Remember the Chargers snap? Your
Yeah.
favorite play?
Yeah, that's my play of the year, actually,
Yeah.
was that Chargers
Yeah.
50-yard snap.
The other guy I like is Robert Jones. He has a similar build to Creed Humphrey. Um, and like we've already said, he's similar to our current O line. He's just one of those big dudes. I think the best player comparison is Robert Hunt. He's 6'5", 330. And he also is a developmental project. So, we saw them take a bunch of developmental projects last year with it. Noah Igbenogany, Austin Jackson, these younger guys that, probably could have been taken later on, but they didn't want to lose out on them. So if that's the path they're going again this year, I could see them snagging someone like Robert Jones in later rounds.
I'm curious to see if that's the path they go on. Because for me, if you can find the Andrew Van Ginkels of the world, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not one to tell Chris Greer how to draft. I also think that Marvin Allen, the assistant general manager for the Dolphins, is a very good talent finder. They will find the people who can become something good. And you know what? I'm okay with them taking those people now because for the first time in our lives, I feel like we're actually developing talent. Like, don't you feel that way that you're more
Yeah.
okay? Can you imagine the Joe Philbin Dolphins taking these guys? They used to, and they never saw the field. So is that it for interior O line?
Yeah, that's all I got for O line. What position do you want to do
My
next?
next is receiver, and I've got
I
three
agree.
guys on
I
here.
agree. So real quick, the whole list of wide receivers are going to be Cade Johnson, Demetric Felton, Nico Collins, Ben Skowronek, Tylan Wallace, Dwayne Eskridge, Frank Darby, and Des Fitzpatrick. And Devonta Smith was added to that.
I did not look at all of them. I looked at the ones that intrigued me. I know some I'm interested. I don't need to look at Devonta Smith. I already know everything I need to know about him.
Yeah, so out of all those prospects, obviously Devonta Smith is up there. I really don't know much about the other guys.
I looked at a
Nico
little
Collins.
bit to tell
Yeah.
you a few
Go ahead.
guys. Okay. Before I say anything, this is unrelated. I was watching the I Am Athlete podcast today, and Chad Johnson, said that he played at 175. His playing weight was 175 to 180. That kind of not changes my mind, but that makes me feel more comfortable with Devonta Smith because I think Chad Johnson's like one of the best receivers I have ever seen in my life. Like growing up, I absolutely loved his game. So I'm a little bit more comfortable. He was never hurt. So does that make you feel better that Chad Johnson played at 180 at the same frame and size that Smith
Chad
does?
Johnson might have said he played at 180, but I mean, he looked 180. Like Devonta Smith looks like 160. Alabama could easily be giving him an extra 10 pounds on his.
Yeah, he wears a winter jacket. He's wearing a winter
Yeah.
jacket and ate at Golden Corral right before he.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He,
I
Devonta
agree with
Smith
that.
doesn't look like Chad Johnson when Chad Johnson was playing.
Okay, then let's get into some of these guys. Unfortunately, I found a little bit of redundancy with some of these players with the people we already have. First guy was Nico Collins, wide receiver out of Michigan. I think he opted out this year. I'm not 100% positive on that, but I think he last played in 2019. I think. Don't quote me on that. He's just a Preston Williams with better hands. He's a little stronger, I think, a little bit more reliable of a catcher, but I didn't see anything there that I was like, if you have Preston Williams, it's a little bit of overlap. It's maybe a small upgrade on Preston Williams.
Did you find anyone that you think would fit in our offense?
I don't know what our offense is.
Well, like fit in our receiving core because we don't need those type of guys. Did you find any?
Yeah, I looked at three. So Dwayne Eskridge is the only one that I looked at that I was like, huh. He has good moves at the line of scrimmage, and he's really fast, and he can kind of shift and shake and bake a little bit. But Dwayne Eskridge played at like Western Michigan. He's another guy that I need to see him this week to see if he's shaking and baking scrubs or if he can shake and bake at any level. So I'd like to just see how he performs and if he stands out. And then another guy that I knew about before looking him up, but then I looked at his tape and I was like a little lukewarm on it, is Sage Surratt. Have you heard of Sage Surratt? He's a Wake Forest receiver. I like his brother, Chaz Surratt, the linebacker who we're coaching.
We're gonna be talking about him.
Yeah, we'll talk about him later. But Sage, I watched his film, and he has like really strong hands, and he wins at the catch point. But his routes, from what I saw, were like meh. But he was also like Wake Forest is number one, and their offense is significantly better with him in. So I don't know. As far as receivers go, Smith was kind of the guy. I don't really. I'm kind of a little turned off about guys who are like really good high point guys because I feel like we have that. So when I see something like that and a strong handed guy, I'm a little bit lukewarm on it. That's all I have for the
Surratt
receivers.
on our roster?
He is. Oh, maybe he's not.
You sure?
Oh no, maybe he isn't. I thought he was. No, I think so. I went to the website today.
Okay. Yeah, I think he is.
And I checked. We have both
The
Surratt
one I looked
brothers.
at was a little old, so
Yeah, we have both
Yeah,
Surratt
he
brothers. I'm a lot more interested in his brother, and we'll talk about him. But
yeah, I also did highlight his brother as well.
yeah, so we're gonna talk about his brother. But Sage would be okay. It's just Sage would be okay like as a 5th round pick. I don't want to reach for any of these guys. Same with Eskridge or Nico Collins.
Yeah, none of those guys really entice me. I like
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney.
I
on
love
the Panthers
Toney.
roster. I would have loved to have him on our roster, but
I love Toney. Toney is the exact type of receiver that we don't have. He would be amazing. I wouldn't rule out us drafting him if we don't get Smith early or Chase early or Waddle early. I'm done with the receivers. Do you have anyone other than Toney?
let's go to running backs.
Okay.
We have Najee Harris as of recently. That's kind of
I don't
like
need to talk about him.
that's kind of like, it's almost destiny is being given to us between having Najee and Devontae being coached by the Dolphins in the Senior Bowl. Um, so the running back group is in my top three groups to watch, obviously, because it's a top three group of need for us. But having Najee in the building with these guys, Ramondre Stevenson as well, it's pretty interesting. Did you highlight anyone?
Yeah, so I have a man crush on Ramondre Stevenson, and not because I think he's some like world-beating RB1. He's not. I like Ramondre Stevenson for what you get out of him. I watched him in Oklahoma versus Florida, and I had never heard of this man, but he is a legit 250-pound LeGarrette Blount model running back. He's everything Jordan Howard could never be as a goal line back. He is the biggest, better than Najee Harris. He's the like in the better than Najee Harris at being a big fat goal line back.
Okay.
Like not at everything. There's so many things he can't do. The
Yeah.
reason I like
That's the
him,
problem. That's the problem with
there's
him.
so many things he can't do. That's why I like him. He's a 6th or 7th round pick. You ask why? Because one, he's a running back. Two, he's 250 pounds and can only run straight. But man, does he run straight well. So I love him. Man crush. He can't pass block. He can't catch. He has no elusiveness. He just keeps his legs moving, and I kind of like him. Another guy I watched the film for was Michael Carter. He was a teammate of Javonte Williams at UNC. And I didn't like him. From what I watched his highlights, and I didn't like it. I was watching
Yeah.
the highlights, and I just clearly Javonte Williams was the better running back there. I didn't think that Michael Carter had any speed or like he wasn't particularly powerful. So like the reason I like Stevenson was the one thing he does really well. But Michael Carter, I looked at it, and there wasn't one thing that was really standing out for me. So I'm interested in Harris and Stevenson.
Yeah, I'm with you. Stevenson, I think he'd be a good complement to Miles Gaskin if that's what the Dolphins are hoping for, is to have a first down back and then maybe a second and third down back. But if you're looking for a three down back, there's only two guys that
There's two.
are far ahead of all the others.
Absolutely, and I think it's
Yeah,
worth taking them.
yeah,
It's worth taking ETN or Harris early. No one can do like Najee in this draft. Like
yeah,
I'm sitting here telling you I like Stevenson. I'm telling you right now, he can't catch, he can't block. He's
yeah.
not a third down back. I don't even know if he's a second down back, whatever that means. But
All right.
yeah, my list is short. After that, I have Dalen Hayes for edge, and then the
Defensive
rest
line,
it's going to be
that's
yours.
what I want to talk about.
Okay. So we'll go to that. I don't have any other positions that I looked at
Okay.
for this video.
All
So
right.
you'll lead the way from here.
Dalen Hayes. We talked off air before this about Dalen Hayes, and we had different opinions. As a Notre Dame fan, I might be biased. Coming out with that, I might be biased. But I have watched Dalen Hayes for 4 years now.
Okay.
I remember when he was there as a freshman and sophomore. I actually have a number 9 Notre Dame jersey, which is what number he is. So it was like, oh, Dalen Hayes, because you know how, the Notre Dame doesn't put the names on the jersey.
Yeah.
So the thing I like about Dalen Hayes is when he started out and I first started watching him, he was more of a 4-3 hand in the ground pass rusher. And as he developed and got older, they moved him almost to a 3-4 outside linebacker pass rusher. Very rarely he dropped back into coverage. He's dynamic. My best player comparison would be like a more athletic Kyle Van Noy.
Okay. I didn't watch enough film. I
Stronger
didn't
coming
watch
back
enough
and
film to have
faster.
this opinion. Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay. I didn't watch enough to like have this opinion. So like from what I watched, he was standing up and he was playing against Georgia and he got eaten alive.
I think
But
he had 2 sacks that game, didn't he?
maybe he had 2 sacks, but I was watching film and not highlights. So I was just watching play after play, and he seemed to get like eaten up because he was a little small on the line. But
So it depends what year you watch that. He did gain weight. He has gotten
Okay.
heavier. And I need to do more watching of Dalen Hayes because, when you're watching your team, like you see the plays where he stands out. I don't see the plays where he gets buried.
Yeah.
But I always like Dalen Hayes. He kind of represents the Brian Flores type of person too. I believe he was our captain 2 years in a row.
Okay,
One of our
that
captains,
matters
so,
to me. That really matters. You start hearing about character concerns with certain guys, and then it's a huge turnoff for this type of.
Can we talk about Michael Parsons real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about it because I had also seen a little bit today, but I'll let you lead
That's
the way on
absolutely
that.
crazy. All the stuff that came out on him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a second round pick now.
I agree. They're gonna say that he matured and they moved past it, but like someone who's even done that in their past gives me big red flag there.
Yeah.
He was part of hazing for. I'm not going to go into too much detail on
Yeah.
the podcast,
Please
but
don't.
I won't. It's really, really bad. He was involved in hazing. To what it seemed like, he tormented a former player. I want to say like literally tormented a
Mhm.
player. And he just didn't seem like a good person.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you're like on the field. A person like that doesn't belong in the Miami Dolphins locker
He
room.
was
So
he would show up late to meetings. This is all reportedly. This is not coming from us. This is what we have heard. Show up late to meetings. Some weeks he'd party 5 times a night. A lot of former teammates said it was all about me, with him.
that doesn't
And I
bother
just
me as
don't.
much as the bullying. The bullying was really bad. He really tormented another player that they
They got
have
in a
to.
fight. They
He
got in a
got in a
fight.
fight and he had to. This went to court. This I know. That player is suing. I don't think he's suing Parsons, but it's the university that he's for
I believe
hazing.
the university told him to be quiet about it. I think that's
Of
why.
course they did,
Yeah, I
but
think that's why. So,
yeah,
anyways, Michael Parsons, top 5 draft pick, might drop to the second round. He's the Laramie Tunsil, all the talent in the world, but a couple things can really change your draft day.
something like that affects it for me. But I'm not in the Dolphins front office, so I don't know. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't now. I'm definitely not considering him with the first. I wouldn't considering defense in the first round, anyways.
no. I also like Jonathan Cooper. He's very similar to Dalen Hayes. I haven't watched too much film on him, but if they're able to snag him in the second round, maybe. Have you
Yeah,
watched any film on Jonathan Cooper?
I haven't, but I know who he is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
He's
watch
six
film
four,
on more
two
of these
fifty
guys.
seven. So, he's a freakishly athletic. Long arms, which is another key as far as a pass rusher.
Yeah, that's huge for the Flores mold.
Yeah.
Is long arms, big long frame, and
Yeah.
because they can coach you from there, but those are traits they can't coach. Obviously, is
Yeah.
being big.
And then the last guy I have highlighted is who you previously talked about.
Yeah, what Chaz
Chaz
Surratt.
Surratt. Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about him because I've been interested in Chaz Surratt for beyond this year. I'm a Florida State fan, so I watch more ACC football than not because I'm watching anytime UNC plays Florida State. I think if Chaz Surratt is there with your second round pick or your first third round pick, I guess we only have one third round pick. If he's there, you take him. I think he's a middle linebacker who's a great leader. He's a former quarterback, so he's
Yep.
very smart. He can cover. He's a great coverage
Mhm.
linebacker, which is something we haven't had. I also believe that with the right coaching, his ceiling is much higher than what we're seeing now because he was a quarterback that converted to middle linebacker. So he's going to be your middle of the field Mike linebacker, and he's a 3-down guy. I don't know if he's super sound in the run game yet. He's not a thumper. He's not an Elandon Roberts type of player, so he needs to develop there. But
Yeah.
but people develop. I mean, if Andrew Van Ginkel can develop like that, then so can Chaz Surratt.
So my notes are interesting because they're literally exactly what you just said, and we didn't even
Okay,
talk about
what'd
this.
you say? Yeah, we haven't talked about this at all, so I want to hear
6'4",
what you say.
225, former quarterback, pure athlete, great in zone pass coverage. He's not necessarily an Elandon Roberts run stuffer. I wrote that.
That's what you wrote down. That's
I wrote
exactly what
that
I was
down.
thinking. Is he's no
Yeah.
Landon
But
Roberts,
he is a
but
3-down linebacker.
for
So I do
sure,
like him as far as, especially as a day 3, third round, day 3,
he'd be
first,
like
second,
a
third.
he if he's there in the third, I'm trading up to get him. If he's there at the end of the second, I'm considering taking
Yeah,
him.
I agree. Other than that, I don't have anyone else as far as the Senior Bowl, but I do want to talk about something else.
Yep.
I want to talk about just our first round of last year's draft. Um, there was a lot of people saying that the Dolphins don't take enough risks, and I totally disagree with that statement.
The
There were
whole
yeah,
first round was a risk. The
whole
entire
was
first
a
round
risk.
was a
All
risk.
development projects. Um, I want to just talk about compared to the late round hits they've had in their success versus the early round misses. Two different draft scenarios they could use, and also I want to talk about Xavier Howard's contract just for a little bit.
Okay, let's talk about
So
all that.
Xavier Howard is theoretically probably going to request about $20 million a year. Are you paying him? If he says
I struggle with
$20
this
for the
because
next $20 million for the next 4 years.
my thing that the reason that I get hesitant about this is like if you told me that Xavier Howard could stay healthy for 4 years, I'd say yeah, give him the 20 million for sure. He's totally worth the money. My issue is he's been hurt almost every single year that he's played, and his knees are bad. and those knees aren't getting better. I don't believe he's going to make it through next season. I would almost want to trade him now for a Pirates bounty. And I hate saying that. I love Howard. I'm not saying trade Howard. I love him as a talent. I love him as a teammate and an on field player. But I don't believe in his durability at all. I think both of his knees are just not
Yeah.
good. And and he's 29. I He is worth the money. If you have to extend him because you don't want to trade him, if you don't want to trade him, give him the money and extend him, sure. But like, I would love to see him be a Dolphin for life. But how do you feel about the knees? It's an injury thing for me.
I
I would trade him because of the
It's really
knees.
tough. I mean, we all Dolphins fans love Xavier
I
Howard.
love him, but
Um, if
the
it's me,
knees.
I agree with you. I do. I'm trying to get a first round pick out of him if I can.
You could
And
get more than one
if
for,
you get a first round pick for Xavier Howard right now, I'm slamming the table.
you
I'm
got to get
sending.
more than that. He's like defensive player of the year. You got to get
If we
more.
get more than that, even better. But if we get a first and like a third, I'm sending it in. Like I love Xavier Howard, but like you said, he's almost 30. I didn't even know that he's 29.
Or 28.
Yeah.
He's out.
Once
I
you hit
mean,
that 30 mark as a DB, it's very hard to keep, to not go downhill from there. And we saw Stephon Gilmore, Darrell Revis when he hit 30, it's a slow decline.
here's like facts, and like book me on this. If you think I'm wrong, comment on this. He will never be better or more valuable than he is today.
Yep.
Today, this is the best he is. This is the most valuable he is. I'm not sure that he'll ever appreciate in value. So
Yeah.
now maybe even if you trade him away to get a Patrick Surtain or to get who's the shadow out of Virginia Tech, Farley, right? Caleb Farley. Both of
Yep.
those guys are not as talented as Xavier Howard, but like they're starting corners
Yeah.
probably. And you just drafted Noah. You have to believe Noah's going to become something.
I think he will. Now, that's another question I
Yeah, let's
have.
lead into that. Let's go into the draft with that and
I want to
talk about
ask you, who are you more confident in being a consistent, good starter? Is it Austin Jackson or Noah Igbenogany in the
it.
future?
It's Austin Jackson. Here's why: because he already started for a year. He's got more experience now. They're both really similar players. They're both very young with a lot of upside. I think Jackson needed to be coached to have better technique so that he doesn't give up his turnstile like repetitions that happen here and there. I'm going to go Jackson now because of his physical tools, but like Noah could put it together and be a great man corner. Noah could be like X. I promise you, Xavier Howard wasn't this good when we drafted him in the second round out of Baylor.
Yeah.
He developed.
I
So
I'm gonna disagree with you. It's hard to disagree with that because you're right. Austin Jackson was the better player last year. But I do think Noah has the physical tools and he's a smart kid. He's young. He's an athlete.
really
He's
good attitude
fast.
too.
Good attitude. I mean, we saw him step in towards the end of the season, and when he was in, there was no blunders. He had a bunch of boneheaded plays. I feel like that was the big thing for him. He wasn't, he got toasted by Stephon Diggs. He got toasted, but a lot of plays, it was like just he mental lapse, and that's something that comes with experience and age. You just got to focus before the play. I have confidence that I think Noah will be a good number two corner, whether if it's not next year, then the year after.
I have a question about Noah. So like this doesn't it seem really, really aggressively risky to draft him with your 30th overall pick in the first round last year for one reason? He's 20 years old and has only played corner for 2 years. That's some major, you must see something very special in his physical ability to believe in that. I don't think they would have picked him there if you weren't right in what you just said.
Yeah.
You're saying that you think he can become great because of his physical tools. They must have seen that, right? They must have seen
I
that
think there's a reason why they did that.
because
And people
that's
are,
so risky to do that. You must have projected something great to come out of that.
and it was a development year. I mean, we knew it going into the draft. We had two starting corners. Get that guy. Let's say we trade X. You want to draft a rookie now? I'd rather rely on Noah in his second year with a whole season and offseason under his belt than probably most, if not all, cornerbacks coming out of the draft. I know Surtain's pretty good, but I'm going to take a 1 year NFL player with two training camps under his belt now over anyone coming out of the draft, especially someone with his tools. I mean, he played well against Devonta Smith when they matched up when he was at Auburn. He played well.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting to go into this conversation because they were two people, Austin Jackson and Noah, that I felt got a lot of heat. But it's the same thing with Tua. Also, I feel like Tua got a lot of heat, and we have to remember all three of them were rookies, and they're all three playing the three hardest positions in football: quarterback, left tackle, and cornerback. Like, it's the three hardest positions, all people with question marks. Tua from rehabbing an injury, and the latter two from being extremely young and honestly very inexperienced. Austin Jackson also had come off of a bone marrow transplant that kind of impeded him from being his best earlier before drafting him. So I don't know. Food for thought there for everyone
Yeah.
watching.
Um, and like I said, the Dolphins have lately had a lot of late round hits. We've talked about it many times. They really need to start zoning in and getting these first round hits. Um, we need the guy, especially coming into this year. We need a good draft. We need a good draft that can win now. We built up the defensive side of the ball. We need to get those guys that you can plug in now and play. We don't need, Noah Igbenogany type players now. Last year, I understand because the expectations were low. We have two starting DBs. Let the kid come in and learn. He's got the tools to be good. He had that one season to develop, but this year we can't. If I'm the Dolphins, I'm going away from those players and I'm going safer in the draft.
Yeah, last draft was actually very risky. I'm going
Yeah.
to throw out a few more people that were risky. Robert Hunt is risky because he played D2. I know that he was good in Division 2, but
He
that
was
alone
great.
is
He was great
risky.
for us too. He was one of my
He
favorite
was
offensive
great.
linemen.
And I think that what's defensive tackle?
Raekwon.
Raekwon Davis. Yeah, Raekwon Davis also kind of risky. His production really dipped at Alabama the last year, and he ended up being
I
great.
love that pick
Yeah,
though.
he was
I love
great.
that pick. When they drafted him, I mean, when I saw Flores' reaction, it helped me love it a little bit more because how
Yeah.
happy he was. So
Yeah, no, that ended up working really well. But every single player, Brandon Jones, I thought was actually a solid pick too. Not so risky. That was a guy that had a lot of experience, and he was smart, clearly.
yeah,
So that translated well. Yeah, I
yeah, they
think.
picked a lot of late round guys that even Brandon Jones. Yeah, you just said like Brandon Jones. Um, these guys in the late rounds that end up having a big role on your team. I mean, that's success right there. But we got to get the first round. We got to get it down. We've had
What
too.
was Lynn Bowden Jr. worth the fourth round pick in that trade? Because we're gonna pretend like he was drafted with a fourth round pick.
Yeah,
Is he worth it? Was that a good?
absolutely.
Okay.
His production was there. With a bad offense like it was. I mean, there were games when Lynn Bowden was our number one target.
Yeah.
And he's not a number one receiver. We know that. He's a utility guy.
It's a little too early to tell, but the fifth round was like really bad for us, in my opinion. We had Curtis Weaver, who was let go after that injury. Matt Breida, who was traded for, that didn't work out, and what's his name? Strobridge.
Trowbridge, yeah.
Strobridge. No grade from me on him. I haven't
Yeah.
seen anything to tell you one way or the other.
All right. Well,
Cool.
all I know is we need a pass rush. We need a pass rusher. We need that number one pass rusher. I love Ogba, like you said, but
Yeah.
it is a scheme pass rush we have right now. We need that number one guy. Other than that, I'm all done here.
Nope, I'm done too. I thought
Ready
that
to
was a
get
good.
mock drafts.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna try to do is next week on our episode. I'm sure we'll recap the Senior Bowl because we'll have information for you. These were our entrance thoughts and our pre Senior Bowl thoughts. And now that we are, we're gonna go through the week. We're gonna watch everything we can. We're gonna keep an eye on everyone, especially our guys, and we're gonna see how they develop. And we'll probably come with a recap for that.
Yeah, this was just for any of my YouTube or Twitter followers. If you're not too informed about the Senior Bowl, we gave you some names here just to look at, maybe watch out for, see what they do. If we end up drafting them, then good for us. We called it out. We think they're good players, most of them. But yeah, like you said, during practice all week, especially on Twitter, Randy has a Twitter. I'm actually going to put it in the description for some of you guys that maybe haven't seen me on Twitter. I'll put it in the description. But both of us will be posting tweets about the Senior Bowl practices this week, recapping all that. So,
Yeah, and we're growing, and I encourage everyone to like, subscribe, follow us. We'll follow you back. Spread the word. It helps us. We're enjoying this. I think that we bring a unique perspective. I know there's a lot of Dolphins coverage content. And a lot of those guys are covering it from like a very media-ish perspective, which is not bad at all. Some of them do a great job with it. But I think our perspective is unique. I think we're just naming people today in this episode that we like, or that we've looked at. You're not gonna, Kyle Krabs from like the Draft Network is amazing. He's probably going to have a different list of guys. There's so many good guys to follow for this. I just want to say that like we're having fun doing this, and I think we're getting better at it every week, and we're going to continue to get better at it. So yeah,
We're
just
gonna
follow
keep
us.
posting. We're gonna
Yeah,
keep posting. You won't get bored. We're gonna keep it up all the way through the off season into the 2021 season. So
yeah, we'll
we're
try to keep it.
excited.
We'll try to keep it unique and fun. So yeah, just definitely comment and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Any closing statements before I end this?
All right. I'll see
Fins
you
up.
guys on Twitter.
All right, fins up.